Not the Footy Show.
Now, before I ask each of these boys to whisper their secret, let me say that I know that long after I have retired and I look back on this show, the memory of this secret will always be one of the brightest ones in my whole entire time.
Oh, have we got secrets? I'll tell them that much. Welcome to the Recruitment Whisperers, not the Footy Show. Forward sizzle.
Lots of signing stuff. I mean, it's only the bottom of the sheet, but they're all signings.
I have seen a few. So let's skim over the Nevs and get to the good ones.
Yeah, no. I want to start with the Josh Jackson retirement. Goes into a Gus war chest, which means Mitchell Moses. G'day, everybody. Welcome to episode 269 of Not the Footy Show. I'm Warrick Nicolson. I've got Robb Cox with me once again. And guess what time it is, Cocksmith? It's time for the
whispering. Let's whisper.
Some recruitment whisperers, not transfer whispers. Don't get us confused with what Fox Sports are putting out there, people. This is much more legit, much more based in fact and truth. Josh Jackson retires, Cocksmith. He takes the golden handshake from Gus Gould. Gus Gould is a genius.
Well, you say we're talking truth. We're going to speculate a little bit. But Josh Jackson, was he injured at all? To your knowledge?
Beyond being just bashed up over time. And you could tell his body had he was only 31, but he looked like about 35 or 36 in footy terms. He certainly put himself through the ringer. No, I didn't know if he had a debilitating injury, so that was interesting. But he has 1 year left on his deal for next year, which he now will pass up.
So has he been medically retired?
I don't believe so. There was nothing in the press release that says it's medically related. It's essentially he wants to spend time with his family. And as we speculate, get a nice plum job with the Bulldogs per Gusman Gould to clear up a huge amount of cap space for next year. So
we think he's on somewhere between 600 and 700,000.
I'd say that's about that. That makes sense. He's on a 3-year deal in 2019. And I would suggest extension, in 2019, and I would suggest that was back-ended. So
so we suspect he's on somewhere between $600,000 and $700,000.
Yeah,
he's now retired. Nobody that I know is going to give up $700,000. Nobody that I know, and I know a couple of really rich dudes. They're not giving up $700,000.
I'm not giving up $700,000 just to add to that list.
So what are they going? The Bulldogs are going to have him running water or being a pathways development officer.
The story is he's going to be the
mindfulness coach. Okay, for $700,000.
Yeah,
because there's no way in the world he's taken anything more than say a 10% cut on that. So this is where the cap kind of gets a little bit shaky for mine because yes, he's retired and he had a great career, very well done. But he was also contracted for 2023, and the Bulldogs now don't have to declare that.
Yep. As I understand it, that's right.
And so, being the rich club they are, they can probably pay him $700,000 a year to be the mindfulness coach.
Sure, there's a sponsor out there would happily look after him. I did note that there was no official word from Gus in the press release. He did go to Twitter, and I'll just read what he said, and this sort of informs speculation, but informs what our view is in regards to, how it's come about. He says, Josh Jackson, what a player, what a great man, Bulldog to the core, wonderful servant and leader for this great club. Retirements are always sad, but time to reflect on a magnificent career. A true Origin player. The future? ? Once a Bulldog, always a Bulldog. Watch this space. We've given him a job. That last bit might be just me.
Okay, so what, mate? All right, we'll push through that because we've covered it. But why do they want the money? Who are they looking for? What are they looking for?
Well, this is the question more 2024 because you can shuffle your cap around now and use up this space for 2023 to create space for 2024. The biggest challenge for the Bulldogs, however, is not so much how much money they've saved on Josh Jackson. It's that the NRL still hasn't officially said what the cap is for next year.
Mm.
So this is why this is a great move from Gus Gould, because if it's, say, an extra 200,000 or an extra 300,000 or whatever it is above what they've been budgeting for, not only do you have the Josh Jackson space for 2023, you've got the extra cap space as well. And if you can juggle your contracts and get players to, basically get paid more next year so you can then go into the market, it hasn't been linked yet, but I'm linking it now. They have the space for one M. Moses in 2024, and Gus is a fan.
So what you're saying is that they don't really have a recognised halfback. Well, they've got a recognised halfback. They don't have that kind of premiership halfback.
Kyle Flanagan's currently
Kyle Flanagan.
Yep.
So what you're saying is that they're posturing and manoeuvring, possibly, to get someone like Moses' stature for 2024. So is 2023 a bust year already?
It's not, because they've got more quality coming in than they had this year. You got Kickow coming in, you got Marnie coming in, you got Ryan Sutton coming in. They've got some troops to definitely fill out a roster that was playing guys like Joe Stimson, for example. Like, he won't be in first grade next year. Jack Etherington's gone to the Knights. They're clearing out, which is what smart football operations managers do, is they clear out the ones that we'll get to the Tigers and what they're doing as well. Speaking of the Tigers, they've also been heavily linked to Mitchell Moses, because apparently Timmy Sheens took his opportunity in the UK to have a little lunch with young Mitchell.
As you do.
As you do. The question here is more, is Moses the right fit for the Bulldogs in 2024 if that's where Gus decides to funnel the money? That's my question to you.
Well, look, it's going to cost them. It's going to cost them somewhere between 900 and 1.1 to get him. That's what's going to cost.
It'll be at least $1 million. He won't sign for less than $1 million, because he'll get $1 million from the Eels if he decides to stick around there.
Yeah. So like I say, somewhere between 900 and 1.1 is what's going to take to get him, depending on the length of the contract and how long those years, the length of contract. I don't know, man. I don't know if he's the right fit for the Bulldogs, to be honest with you. I don't think he's the right fit for the Tigers either.
He's 28 at the moment, so he'll be 29 at the end of next season.
Turning 30.
No, he's September birthday. So.
Oh, okay. So he'll be 29
next year. So he'll be 29 basically when next goes to a new team. So you'd say as a halfback, he's got at least 3 years, maybe a few more if his body doesn't let him down.
Himself.
Yeah.
I look, to me, it's funny, because I know that he's done really well in the last few months, Mitchell Moses. But to me, I still feel he's an unproven halfback. I still feel that we're still waiting to see whether he's going to fully develop into that, into that role of being team leader. And
is that Mitchell Moses though? He's 28, and if we don't think that he's got to that stage, is what we're seeing.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I believe that when you get to 29 years old as a football player, that there isn't going to be a big leap in ability between seasons. Not up in ability anyway. So, look, if they're happy with what they're seeing, if they think that that's going to help them win a premiership, by all means, go for it. It's a lot of money to spend, though, 900 to 1.1 or maybe 1.2 million for a player that has, in my opinion, still quite a few negatives about the way he plays. But I'm not here to beat him up. I'm just saying, I'm just not sure that he's the kind of guy that I'd want to spend $1 million on if I was trying to build a team, which obviously the Bulldogs are. Gus is a lot smarter than me, though, mate, so he'll do what he wants to do.
The other position that the Dogs do need is a fullback if Jake Averillo is not the answer. And we've seen bits and pieces from him. You don't think he's the answer at all. I think he's, in the grand scheme of things, in fullbacks in first grade, he's not the worst option, but he's certainly not like someone you're going to go and hitch your wagon to.
Unless so who are you going to buy?
Well, El Mitchell's available for 2024.
Is there ties there? Do we have a strong tie? Is there someone at O'Carr?
Yeah. You reckon, as if Josh O'Carr's not in his ear the whole time they're away. Come play with me. So. Come play with me, Birdo. Me and Birdo.
Mm.
I'm just saying, this is the thing about the war chest that Gus has created. Gus has created a chance that getting Josh Jackson to retire, and we'll get to Jackson in a second, just in relation to his career, but he's created an opportunity where he didn't have one. He used all his spare cash on signing Kikau and Marnie, which are good signings. He's also got a lot of money tied up into Vita Pangai Jr., as probably hear in the background. Police are coming for me. So linking Latrell Mitchell with Canterbury. But what he's got now is he's got that ability to open the purse strings as much as he wants if he wants the right player. And that is all that Gus would have been doing when he got to his job over 12 months ago. I think it was the end of 2021. He would have been going, how do I... And he said it on his podcast. If you listen to him, I mean, I've listened for a year, but before that, when he had Bracey on him, he was saying it's not about 2022. It's not even about 2023. 2024. He would have forecast who was coming off contract at this stage. And so he's been working the best he can to get his team into a situation. And this is the beauty. If you get a guy like Josh Jackson, who is a heart and soul player, but, you know, being brutal for a second, he's not going to be the difference between your team making the 8 and not making the 8 if he's there next year. That's just the way that the game sort of works. They need more out of, you know, the Pangai Juniors and even Burton to a degree. Guys like that at OK obviously had an okay year, but he can be better. But this is the thing about Jackson. You clear him off your cap roster, you open up a spot, and now it's like, who do you want, Gus? Because that's the beauty of these war chests they've created.
Yeah, look, I totally agree with you on a number of fronts there. And Gus is very smart. He'll have a spreadsheet, a constant up-to-date spreadsheet of who's on, who's off, who's looking, who's upset, who might be looking for, you could just imagine how many times a day his phone rings, both in and out. Here's the other thing about Burton. I'm still reserved on Burton as to whether he's a 5'8" or not. I really want to see him play like quite a few games back to back with a good halfback before I decide that I'm right and that he's not a good 5'8" and that he's probably one of the best centers in the world. But I'll reserve my decision till I see him do that. Because, I know that Gus will swear blind that he's an awesome 5'8". I still don't. I reckon he'd make a better fullback than he does a 5'8", to be honest with you.
Okay.
But look, let's reserve our judgment, or I'll reserve mine anyway till then. But look, to all the Bulldogs fans out there, the Bulldogs are on the up.
Get a smart person in charge, and look what can happen.
They will not be in the bottom 4 next year.
Declared.
No way are they in the bottom 4 next year. And
Saints will be there. Who else is going to?
Gold Coast.
Canberra.
There's a few others. No, that'll be right.
Josh Jackson, quickly. Impressions of his career.
Oh, mate, look, when I think of Josh Jackson, I just think of an effort player. Probably not the most gifted player as far as skill goes. Certainly not the least either, but he's an effort player, mate. He's a worker, he's a toiler, great defender. He's the kind of guy you want in your team. He's the kind of guy that when they first come into grade is when you're going to get your best value out of him, because he quickly turned himself into a $600,000 or $700,000 player, and didn't drop off in effort. But he's the kind of player you need. Every team needs a Josh Jackson style player. Hopefully they don't blow out to $700,000 for your team, not for them. For them personally, great. But everyone needs at least one or two of those players, mate. Great career, and he speaks very intelligently as well. He'll probably go on to having another 10, 15 years, however long he wants at the Bulldogs.
241 games, I think, for the Bulldogs. From 2012 to 2022, he played for Australia, played for New South Wales. He won a Bradford medal for the Blues. Dally M second on the road twice. Fair effort. 2 grand finals, so they got there in 2012 and 2014, but they couldn't quite get it done. And he actually played in the grand final his first year in 2012. I remember I interviewed him, I think, in 2012. He came through at the same time as Tamou and Finucane. And I thought, gee whiz, the Bulldogs have got a couple of pretty good forwards here. And I think he was the only one that stuck it out at the Bulldogs. So that's the move for the Bulldogs. They've moved on the salary of Jay Jackson. We've talked about Moses and the links to the Tigers. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it because it'll get played out in the press in the next little while. But I want to talk about the Tigers and what Tim Sheens is doing. Maybe not quite as drastic as what Gus has done at Canterbury, but it underlines my whole point of this show, the Recruitment Whisperers, which is if you've got a smart football person running things, you can get stuff done. James Tamou, that contract, I know he wasn't on contract anymore, but he will not be at the Tigers. He's gone to the Cowboys for his final season. Yep. So you've cleared that off the space. You've also let Oliver Gildart leave, even though he was said one of those two players that the Tigers said, they'll be back after their loan spell. Not for Lima will be, but Gildart. Apparently Dolphins is the tip where he could end up.
Okay.
I didn't mind what I saw from Gildart, but he needs to be on a good team. He's one of those players. You know,
he's not going to change your team.
No, but he could be a pretty handy player inside a good winger. But he's going to if he goes to the Dolphins, then that's so be it. So Tim Sheens has done a little bit here. Now he wants to try and get Moses. They still haven't made Clemmer happen, which I think needs to happen. They still haven't let Brooks go yet. But the gut feel right now, the Tigers, they're in a better spot, aren't they? Surely than they were even.
Yeah, they certainly are. They certainly are, mate. And I think definitely having Tim Sheens, steering them around as far as recruitments and things go, is definitely a better way than it has been in recent times. I'm still weirded out. I'm still weirded out that they're looking at Mitchell Moses. I know that the good clubs or the clubs that want to be on the rise have to look at every marquee player that comes on the market. But I'm still confused about what they're going to do. Let's say they don't get Moses. Let's pretend for a second that Moses isn't in their discussion. What are they doing in the halves, right? Brooks is going to go. We know that, okay? So take him off your books. So they're left with Hastings and Dewey, okay?
Yeah, Dewey.
I think when he comes back, he's going to be Dewey again.
Yeah, we'll find out.
I'm not even joking about that. So are they going to play? Are they looking at playing Jackson Hastings at 13?
No, I can't see if they're letting Brooks go, which they need to do. They just need to cut that cord, and you just go Hastings for a year because he's only signed for next year. Dwayne's only signed for next year. That's the other problem if you're the Tigers is that he's on huge coin on the current deal he got. Dwayne, they signed him on massive because he wanted to be a fullback, and now he wants to be a 5'8". And this is why I like Tim Sheens is that he's gonna. Yeah. I don't think Tim Sheens will bat an eyelid if Dewey wants like massive coin and he just says no, because he's big about what they've coming through the junior system, Tim Sheens. So I don't think he's going to let a guy who's been okay without being great for you for 2 years already push it. Yeah,
look, and that's the thing. That's what it boils down to, really, with Adam Dwyer is the fact that he's a little bit like Luke Brooks in as much as there's the promise he's going to deliver. We haven't really seen anything. I mean, other than little shining moments in possibly the worst team in the NRL, which isn't a real hard thing to do. Like to shine a little bit. And stand out a little bit from the crowd when he's been playing with, definitely not the best team in the comp. So I reserve my judgment big time on him. I've got more raps on Jackson Hastings than I do on Dwayne.
The thing about Dwayne, and it's proven in 2 straight years, Tigers haven't made the finals in either year, and he's played his best football when the finals have been out of reach in both seasons.
Well. And we've both talked about players like that in the past, the ones that really perform when it doesn't matter.
So if you want to make a new contract at the Tigers, Dwayne, you need a big first 6 to 8 rounds next year.
You just need to be consistent all year. You can't help injuries, but you need to be consistent all year, and you need to be putting in every week, and not just putting in, but actually having the performances that go with putting in an effort in. Like really. Kick butt, basically. Let's move on. Let's get away from
Coruscant and Papali'i both joined, but there is a trade to announce, Cocksmith. Trade.
Oh yeah. Yep. Sorry, I
Charlie
did forget this
Staines to the Tigers. I wasn't finished with what Timmy Sheens has been doing. He somehow got Charlie Staines, but I think on the same contract that he had at the Panthers. But he's punted Tyrone Peachey. Now, Peachey was never on this gigantic contract that the media kept claiming he was on. It was one of those classic ones where they go, he's on a $500,000 contract, but it was like for 2 seasons. It wasn't actually for the one. So they've got rid of Peachey, who goes back to the Panthers, which just quietly, I like that for Penrith. Jamie Salmon better watch out because he's about to lose his spot on the bench to Tyrone. But that's a nice move for them. I think they can still get something out of him there. And he's a really good fill-in player, even if he isn't in that 17. He's one that you won't be worried putting in. But Staines on good coin to the Tigers. I'm surprised.
300?
No,
300, 350.
I think it was. He got paid after his first rookie year at Penrith because he said,
scored all those
otherwise I'll
tries
leave.
in COVID time.
Here's the question, and I'm surprised it hasn't hit the media yet. Who's to say Staines hasn't signed to play fullback at Balmain or Tigers? Sorry,
no one says that he hasn't, and you know. Yeah, this is the thing. I think I said this to you last year. I personally, I don't see Dane Laurie as a fullback. I see him as a 6. I see him more effective as a 6.
This informs our last conversation, Cocksmith, which is why it's been good to wait till now. Because
might be his defence might be just a little bit.
But Staines has got a motor. He's got a motor, and something that I really kept a note on last year was his run numbers in New South Wales Cup when he got dropped. See, one of my criticisms when he played in first grade is that you have your Tyos, your Crichtons, your Edwards who just dominate the carries. They do, and even Tungo to an extent. So Staines, unless the ball got kicked to him, he wouldn't see the ball in a set. So his numbers were down. But I watched his numbers in New South Wales Cup. Frequently over 20 runs a game. That's what you need from a fullback in today's NRL. And he's going to be bigger. He's going to have a little bit more meat on the bone with another off-season. I don't think Tim Sheens is just buying him to play on the wing. I really don't. And I know Laurie is off contract at the end of
next year,
coming season, 2023. So Dane Laurie better be very smart entering this off-season, because if he doesn't put in over the off-season, Charlie Staines will get first crack at the fullback job, I reckon.
You could well be right, mate. And look, it's probably another thing that people haven't taken into account. When they bought Staines, I thought the same thing. Or when they swapped him, I thought the same thing. I thought, you know what, he'd make a pretty good fullback. He's got the speed, he's got the work rate. All he's lacking there is size. But like you say, another off season will probably fix that a bit.
So Tigers, be as excited as the Bulldogs. This is the beauty of an off season, and I know that it got shot down, I believe, by the RLPA about this trade window. But all we're seeing in the last 6 weeks since the grand final is trades, basically, or a month since the grand final, and players moving around. This is the beauty of rugby league. It keeps on giving. There are some other moves we have to cover before we wrap up this episode of the Recruitment Whisperers number 4. Angus Crichton stays at the Chooks for a couple of years. Did we really think he'd go anywhere else?
No, I did not. I think he's well settled there, and I think that, you know, and not surprising at all. Did you see in the newspaper, was it today, about Matt Lodge?
Oh, taking a pay cut.
Well, taking a pay cut after he made $2.3 million last year, but also staying at the Chooks.
What a redemption story that is. I mean, he just needed a chance, that bloke, just to, someone just to give him a go. You know, he's misunderstood.
Hasn't signed yet, but apparently has agreed to terms with.
It's just a matter of how much they can get the NRL to agree that he's worth. Jake Turpin signs as another backup hooker. I'll be surprised if we see much of him in first grade, but his depth, I don't hate it, as long as you're only paying him minimal amount of money. You're a big fan of Jake Turpin, looking at your face.
No, I'm actually weirded out that he's gone there.
Well, he didn't have a future at Brisbane, so they let him go.
No, I know, but he's certainly not the worst hooker in the comp. He's certainly a better hooker than Billy Walters. But we know why Billy's playing there, because
I actually didn't mind what Billy did last year, or this current season. I didn't mind. I thought he played better than Turpin in this last season. I'll say that.
I'm not sure about that. But anyway, I think Turpin could have. I don't know.
It's a great fit for him, Cocksmith. Think about it.
Oh, it certainly is. But how much they paying?
There. I reckon he'll be on match payments pretty much on the minimum. I can't see him getting anything remotely like he might have been on at Brisbane. The other one is Jaxson Paulo has finally officially agreed to join the Roosters from South. He's a bit of an enigmatic player, young Jackson. I see some things and I go, there's a player there. But I see a lot of lackadaisical efforts. I see a lot of laziness. He's had tries where he hasn't put the ball down. Little things that he ain't going to play first grade unless he trains like a machine in the off-season under Trent Robinson. He won't allow him to just walk into first grade.
And you know what? Look, Trent Robinson can have that effect. Trent Robinson is like, a little bit like Craig Bellamy Jr. The junior version, the light version. But he has had that effect on players that can turn them from being, ho-hum journeyman into a professional, rugby league player. So let's hope it works out for Jackson, because I do see the same thing. I see some spots in his game that are really, really shining, and then I see other spots that need some polishing.
Yep. A couple other moves, or there's lots of moves, but Jake Clifford has officially left the Knights. He's been released from last year. His deal to join Hull FC, as we said last pod. Two signings for Penrith. They've officially announced Zach Hosking is an edge back rower, about 26, I think it is. He's a bit more mature. Didn't get his chance in first grade until this last season with Brisbane. I didn't mind what I saw. They may have a swap for him. And the person that I'm feeling not sorry for, but I think should be looking over his shoulder is one Luke Garner, because he's actually got a direct competitor for a spot in that 17 now at Penrith. And Jack Cogger. Now, everything I saw from Jack Cogger for the Knights and Bulldogs was underwhelming. Or not even that. I didn't have expectations. I didn't see a player that went, this guy's a first grader. But they've brought him back to play the Sean O'Sullivan role that they was a masterstroke for him last year. He ain't Sean O'Sullivan. This won't end as well, I don't think.
No, look, the thing is, Penrith have to be very careful with their salary cap, obviously for obvious reasons. They've got a few players there that are on big dollars, so they can't choose from all of the halfbacks that might be off contract or looking for another club, because they probably can't afford to pay anything more than 150 grand a year. 200 max, without doing the numbers. It'd be one of those scenarios. So, look, hopefully they get some miles out of Jack Cogger, because they'll certainly need him. He'll certainly get games, or he'll certainly be
Kurt Falls is the other one who.
Kurt Falls is there. But if you look at Nathan Cleary and Penrith, you can almost guarantee that if you're the standby halfback, that you're going to be in line to get 4 or 5 games. Minimum. Let's hope that Jack has worked on his game a little bit and continues to improve under Ivan Cleary.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up with time. Haumole Olakau'atu re-signed with Manly. We just missed that one in the last pod by day, I think it was. Jojo Fafita stays with the Titans. Kobe Hetherington, stays with Brisbane. Jack Goeski goes. I can't go. Is it
Gojewski?
It's Gojewski. Yeah, it goes to North Queensland, and Tatau Moga re-signs with the Dragons, and they also signed.
What a signing!
Forward, Nick Tosso. That I tell you, that New South Wales Cup team. You guys are lock it in. Your certainties.
You might be smiling, mate, but I'm not.
Let me just add 2 more, and they're interesting ones. One is a player who doesn't have a contract, and the other one is someone I didn't realise had actually signed with this team. Do you remember Alex Chan?
Yes.
His son has been playing with Catalans in the UK Super League.
Alex Chan was Parramatta, right?
Parramatta. He played for Melbourne for a couple of years.
Good player, front rower.
He was a hard nut, basically. That's why I describe him. His son, Joe Chan, has signed with Melbourne, and I just saw a highlights package this morning. Edge back rower / centre, good body type, strong, does not look lethargic. Just one to watch if you are wondering what Melbourne are going to do with their forward pack next year. I think he is a massive chance at being in the mix early on next season. And the other player who doesn't have a contract, Cogsmith, and judging what I've seen at the World Cup, and we'll do our World Cup pod next, Marty Tapau, is he done?
No, I think Marty is another one of those players that would probably do really good under someone like Robinson or Bellamy.
Yeah.
But it needs to, the coach needs to be a good, strong coach. I don't think he'd go very good at Newcastle or the Gold Coast.
Let me float a heading back and playing with the Tigers.
Tigers.
If they don't get Clemmer, do you pay a lot less money for Tapau for 1 year?
I couldn't see that being a bad fit. I think that he would definitely have the respect for Sheens
and Benji. Play with Benji a lot for Test football.
Yeah. He'd probably get a really good year or two out of Marty Tapau, I reckon.
Okay.
Mate, he's definitely got the size and the strength still. There's no doubt. I wouldn't back against him. Put it that way.
Okay. Well, let's wrap up the Recruitment Whisperers number 4 with a bit of hype. Got a bit of hype, Cocksmith. I mean, we delivered about seven
Hit me with the hype
things. Write this name down. The next Cameron Smith is. He's got a pen, everybody. This is what
I don't know. Who's the next?
Mate. This is amazing.
Who's the next?
So engaging.
Yeah. Who's the next?
His name
Cameron
is
Smith?
Blake Moser. He is an 18 or 19-year-old prospect in the Brisbane system, and one of their recruitment people has already come out and used the words "plays like Cameron Smith." Why do we put this pressure on kids? Honestly, why?
Well, is he doing an accountancy degree?
I don't know.
Does he look like an accountant?
I hope he is the real deal, and I hope that they've got a hooker for the next 10, 15 years. But I don't care if it's body type.
How old is he? 18.
Speed off the mark. If it's his, I don't care what you do. Not compare him to the greatest hooker that the game saw for
ever. Greatest hooker ever. I was having a conversation this morning with my wife about about sport. We often talk about sport, but mate, I think it's so hard to say that a 17 or 18-year-old is going to be the next blah blah blah, because you don't know what's going on in the kid's life. He might get to 21 and decide he doesn't want to play football anymore, and it's happened. You go through. Just recently, I went through a lot of the junior reps teams, like New South Wales under 17s, 18s.
Yeah,
you know that most of the players that played New South Wales under 17s and 16s never went on to play first grade.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
And then there are players like Cameron Munster who played under 20s for Queensland, and he was on the bench.
Yeah.
At the moment, probably, one of the top 2 or 3 5/8s in the world, probably in the top 5 players in the world, but he could only make the bench team in under 20s. Couldn't make the starting 13. He was only on the bench. So, the pressure isn't needed for his manager or whoever it is saying he's the next Cameron Smith. What good does that do the kid? Doesn't do him any good. I hope the kid is the next Cameron Smith.
Yeah.
I hope we see another Cameron Smith, but I'm not sure we're going to. Not for a while. Yeah. Cameron Smith, absolute freak, mate. How many games did he play again?
785 or something.
300,000 games? I don't know.
That was a lot. Anyway, that's episode 269 of the Footy Show. I'm Warrick Nicolson. That is Rob Cox. That's the Recruit Whisperers number 4. And after the break, well, effectively next podcast, Cocksmith, we're going into World Cup mode. So put your party hat on.
Yes.
Get your Jamaican jerk chicken out, because it's about time to celebrate those legends who scored the moments of the World Cup the other day against New Zealand. So we'll be back.
Absolutely.
Take us out, Cocksmith.
I'll just get a cup of Peps and see you in a few minutes.
Oh, sponsorship integration. How good are we going?
Good.
Not the Footy Show.
You've been sleeping over there?
Pepsi.